senior legal analyst, Elie Honig. Elie, so what does this tell you about how the district attorney there in Georgia is leaning on potential charges, criminal charges, against the former president, Donald Trump?
Well, Wolf, to me, this is another not so subtle indicator that the DA, Fani Willis, has every intention of seeking an indictment of Donald Trump. What she has done in this letter is put local law enforcement, sheriffs, and others on high alert. She tells them, I'm going to need you to be ready to respond to potential demonstrations and maybe worse, starting on July 11th. And just looking at this through a common sense lens, that makes no sense whatsoever if she's not intending to indict Donald Trump, but it makes complete sense if she is intending to seek an indictment.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Dan, how revealing is it to you that Fani Willis, the district attorney, seems to be concerned about potential violence after her announcement?
Yeah, I mean, you could make an argument, because we are just hypothesizing now, that she would, if she's not going to indict, that she would be worried about people who are anti-Trump protesting in the streets and getting upset. That is a possibility. I think what Elie just described is a probability, that is more of her calculation. But I think just from where I sit on the politics of it, this is what we have been looking at. It's one thing for what the Republicans to defend Donald Trump in what we saw in New York, having to do with his business affairs, having to do with an alleged affair and trying to give hush money to an ex-porn star. It's a whole different thing in this case, because this is the fundamental question. The first time we are going to see the fundamental question go through the courts of his actions with regard to trying to overturn the 2020 election. And that is way more difficult for Republicans to defend.
Certainly is. Evan, how does all this fit into the many other legal challenges Trump is now facing?
Well, Wolf, this is certainly one of the cases that people close to the former president were most worried about, at least until the last few weeks, when suddenly we started hearing a lot more concern about another investigation, which was the special counsel, the federal investigation into the mishandling of classified documents found at Mar-a-Lago. That investigation seems to have certainly taken on a new timeline, a much faster timeline as far as the federal the Justice Department investigations are concerned. Of course, there's a second one also into Donald Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 elections. That one appears to be a little bit more in the offing. But certainly, the idea that now we have from this letter that Fani Willis has sent to local law enforcement, at least a timeline, it really does tell you that the former president's legal troubles are front and center as he launches his campaign. Wolf, this is an unusual letter simply because, obviously the district attorney would normally have a meeting with local law enforcement and perhaps try to get them prepared for something like this. For them to send a letter to the sheriff with the seeming, expectation that it's going to become public, it really, you can see what you see here is the district attorney trying to prepare the public, perhaps, for her coming decision.
Elie, what do you make of District Attorney Fani Willis's timing here? In other words, how all this lines up potentially with the political timing of 2024?
Well, Wolf, I think there's a very fair criticism of Fani Willis for taking this long. Let's remember, Fani Willis became the DA down in Fulton County on January 1st, 2021. The tape that we just heard of Donald Trump calling Brad Raffensperger, that call actually happened the very next day and then became public within hours of that. And yet here we are. We're now looking at an indictment, if this timeline holds, at the earliest 2.5+ years after the effect. I know investigations take time. This should not have taken 2.5+ years. And now as a result of that, Wolf, Donald Trump supporters are going to say, first of all, we didn't see an indictment for 2.5 years until after Donald Trump, A, announced his candidacy, and B, is emerging as a front runner. And second of all, if you look at this realistically, they're not going to get to a trial until the middle of 2024 at the earliest. If we see a charge this summer, there's going to be discovery, appeals, motions, and is a state judge really going to hold a trial of the potential Republican frontrunner or nominee that close to an election? I'm not so sure. And I think Fani Willis bears responsibility for taking this long to do this.
Yeah, Dana, go ahead.
And let me just add one other thing, one other data point to your question to Elie about the timing. What happens between July and September the very first Republican primary debate. The RNC has announced that it will be in August. So what does that mean? That means that this is going to be not just percolating, but it is going to be exploding sometime around that. Perhaps she would wait until after that debate, but it almost doesn't matter because once they start the debates, they're going to happen, pretty frequently, we understand. And so it is going to be right in the middle of the process that Republican voters are going to go through to decide who their nominee is going to be.
Yeah, good point. Dana, Elie, and Evan, guys, thank you very, very much.